Okay, we want to find the exact value of cosine of x minus y, given cosine of x is equal to negative 2/3, sine of y is equal to negative 4/7. Angle x is in quadrant 2, and angle y is in quadrant 4. So the first thing we'll do is look at what we're actually trying to find. Cosine of x minus y, this is the difference identity for cosine. So this is cosine of x times cosine of y, plus, remember cosine changes, sine of x and sine of y. So now looking at what we're given, we know that cosine of x is equal to negative 2/3. So I can put that in here. Cosine of x is negative 2/3. And sine of y is negative 4/7. So I'll substitute that in. Sine of y is negative 4/7. And so what we're missing is sine of x and cosine of y. So we'll use the given information that corresponds to the angle we're looking for. So let's say we start finding cosine of y. So I'm going to use sine of y since they correspond to the same angle. Now we have two options. We know that there is an identity that relates sine and cosine. It's the Pythagorean identity, or they relate together by a triangle. So either one that you want to use. I'll go ahead and use a triangle for this case. So I'm going to use sine of y to find cosine of y. So I'll draw a triangle and let this be my angle y. Now sine is opposite over hypotenuse, which means that the opposite side from angle y must be technically negative 4, and the hypotenuse is 7. So now I can just use the Pythagorean theorem to find that third side. So I have negative 4 squared plus b squared equals 7 squared. So 16 plus b squared equals 49. So b squared is equal to 33. So b is equal to technically plus or minus the square root of 33, but we'll use which quadrant y is in to figure out what we should have. So we're actually looking for cosine of y. So I get that cosine of y, according to the triangle, is adjacent over hypotenuse. So my adjacent side is the square root of 33. And the hypotenuse is 7. I know that angle y is in quadrant 4. So in quadrant 4, cosine is positive, so cosine of y should remain positive. So I have cosine of y is the square root of 33 over 7. And now I need to find sine of x. So we'll go back and use the given information that corresponds to the same angle. So I'll use cosine of x equals negative 2/3 to find sine of x. And again, I have the option. I can either make a triangle or use the Pythagorean identity. I like using the triangle, but you can use whatever you want to use. So I'll draw a second triangle. This time I'm talking about angle x. And I know that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent would be negative 2. Hypotenuse would be 3. And again, I'll use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what the opposite side is. So I have negative 2 squared plus b squared equals 3 squared. So I have 4 plus b squared equals 9. So b squared is equal to 5. So b is technically plus or minus the square root of 5, but again, we're going to use the quadrant to figure out if this is positive or negative. So my missing side is the square root of 5. We are looking for sine, and again, we know that sine of an angle is adjacent over the hypotenuse. So my adjacent side is the square root of 5. The hypotenuse is 3. And angle x is in quadrant 2. Sine is positive in quadrant 2, so again, sine here will remain positive. So I have sine of x equals the square root of 5 over 3. And now that I've filled in all the pieces, we can go ahead and perform the arithmetic. So I'm going to get another page real quick. And we want to do the arithmetic on negative 2/3 times square root of 33 over 7 plus the square root of 5 over 3 times negative 4 over 7. So multiplying fractions, just multiplying straight across. A whole number times a radical just gives me the whole number with the radical. So this gives me negative 2 square root of 33 over 3 times 7 is 21, plus the square root of 5 times negative 4 just gives me negative 4 square root of 5 over 3 times 7, which is 21. And now I have fractions with common denominators, so I'll just combine the numerators. Since what's under the radical is not the same, then these are not like terms, so I'll simply just write negative 2 square root of 33 plus a negative is just minus 4 square root of 5 all over 21. So there is the exact value of cosine of x minus y given the information.